This segment of the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast is supported in part by Douglas Outdoors, serious rods for serious anglers. Go to douglasoutdoors.com and check out their new lineup of Era rods that retail under $100. Norsk Lithium, the lithium battery that you need is just a click away. Go to norsklithium.com and check out some of the lightest lithium batteries in the market with the best warranty in the business. Mariner Sales, located in the heart of the DFW Metroplex, Mariner Sales has the largest inventory of kayak and kayak accessories in North Texas. You can also shop online at marinersales.com. What is going on, everyone? Welcome once again to the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast. This is Real Life with your boy Armando, and I'm excited for today's episode. We got Adam, the prototype Milstead, on the podcast. We're going to be talking about his UFC career and also bass fishing, kayak bass fishing, which is something that he's doing both as a hobby, tournaments, and also as a content creator. So I'm excited to have him on the podcast, talk a little bit about UFC. I started watching UFC back when the Gracie family was using it to promote their Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Yeah, jiu-jitsu. Years ago. I loved watching. If you ever watched the old school UFC fights when the Gracie family, I think they owned it. They had a guy named Royce Gracie. Used to fight all clothed up with all the karate stuff, you know what, I forgot what you call them. It's like that robe, but karate robe. And I thought it was kind of weird, everybody fighting with their Speedos, you know, and all jacked up. And the guy looked like just a normal guy at your local YMCA gym. And I don't know, it was fascinating. We'll talk a little bit about that on the podcast. But yeah, I always got fascinated with UFC back when it started. I haven't watched it as much lately, but I still find it interesting. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how you got into kayak bass fishing, and also any like little things that that he learned in the UFC as a professional mixed martial artist. Into does anything that he learned translate into bass fishing or kayak bass fishing? You wouldn't think, right? But you never know. There's little things, especially in the mental game, that might translate. So we're going to have him on the podcast. He's already in the backstage getting ready. Also, a couple of quick announcements. The Advanced Kayak Angler. So if you're new to the podcast, we do have the live show every Thursday. You can follow us on Bass Kayak and Beers on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. We used to have, we kind of still do, the Advanced Kayak Angler, which is a episode that would air every Wednesday. On our MP3 formats like Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, all of them. And it was hosted by Kurt Smith. And basically his podcast was about tips and tricks to help you improve your game and catch more bass. He's kind of hanged up the mic. He's no longer doing it. So first of all, big thanks to Kurt Smith for the support he has done over the last couple of years. Also, Daniel Perry, who was the founder of Advanced Kayak Angler, he did it the first year and kind of co-hosted last year, and this year Kurt Smith took over, but he's taking a step back. If he ever wants to come back, we'll welcome him with open arms. So what I'm trying to do is, with all the busy time that I got, maybe do a little short segment videos on tips and tricks, you know, breaking down techniques, weather patterns, seasonal fishing, and then put it on YouTube and also upload it as an MP3 format on the podcast. So I'm a little bit behind that, but hopefully we'll get it started in the next couple of weeks. And again, that'll be a weekly episode every Wednesday. We're still going to have the live show every Thursday. If you want to come in, join us at the live show, you're more than welcome to. But without further ado, let's bring in our guest. You want to hear from him, not from me. Adam, the prototype Milstead. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Thank you, Armando. Thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
No, it's an honor to have you on the podcast, man. Really excited to hear about your UFC career and bass fishing and all that cool stuff we have. Where did the I gotta ask you first of all, where did the nickname the prototype came from?
Oh man, that was a nickname that was given to me by my first coach in MMA. So, at first when I heard this is the name that he wanted me to use. I was like, prototype. You normally think like prototypes have flaws. There's like, it's the first of its kind. It's like, they're going to go through all the troubleshooting and stuff like that. But then as you looked it up in the dictionary, it means like perfect being or perfect specimen. And so, he gave that to me because, I was so on fire when I first started MMA because I loved it so much, man. It gave me so much drive and so much motivation that I would arrive about an hour early before practice started. I would get a quick workout in on the bags or something like that, and then like an hour and a half after practice, I would stay and continue doing like this workout routine I made up. And eventually I had a bunch of guys come in and they wanted to be a part of it. But it was just such a driving thing for me that, I was always doing the extra stuff. And that's when he was like, you know what? I think your name ought to be the prototype because you are literally doing what everyone should be doing who's wanting to be good in MMA.
That's cool, man. I
Yeah.
What got you into prototype? I mentioned in the intro. To me, it was just watching Royce Gracie.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of it's not like I get why it's not like that anymore because it's not as entertaining, but it was still fascinating to watch him just under pressure. For those that haven't never watched it, the guy would fight on his karate robe. I guess that's what you call it. And I correct
Or
me if I'm wrong.
gi.
I'm probably yeah.
Yep. A
I don't know
gi.
the technical terms. But what is it called then?
It's called a gi. Yep.
A gi. There you go. I would have
Yep.
never guessed that one. But it was crazy to see him like he would welcome the fighter to put him on the ground, and then when he was on the ground, it take him a solid, depending on the opponent, right? But I've seen some opponents who were like some of the bigger, badder opponents at that time, like they'll be laying on top of him, putting a beat down, and all of a sudden you couldn't even see what he was doing, but he was kind of like articulating like a boa until he finally got him in submission. And it was crazy. I
Yeah.
was just fascinated by him. I would watch
Oh.
him. It's like the patience, the mental fortitude that this guy had
Mm-hmm.
to have a 200 plus pound, 6 foot plus guy just on top of you trying to choke you, and you little by little move an arm here, a leg there.
Oh yeah.
10 minutes into it, almost you got him on a chokehold.
Mhm.
Then everybody's like, how the heck did that happen?
Yeah, that particular part of the UFC, or at least him being a part of it,
Yeah.
really brought the light to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu,
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu in general, but Brazilian, to be exact, was more or less I guess you could say it was founded by the Gracies, and it brought the light that you could take a smaller individual who is trained in literally just jujitsu. I mean, you might have some stand up, but and then put them up against somebody twice his size, and they will literally like take them out. I mean, it's to the point like jujitsu is all about these small little movements, and just like you said, just like this like articulating movement that you don't think is anything that's going to affect you negatively until all of a sudden it was all that he needed to be able to get whatever submission he wants to get on you. And he was tapping giant people out that,
Yeah, dude.
if you're looking at a fight as like a barroom fight, you would immediately say, he's going to get his butt kicked. And then
Yeah,
all of a sudden,
exactly.
next thing he knows, he's tapping these guys out. And it's actually, it has helped so much, because I think what it did too is it gave, like me, when I got into fighting, I didn't have much jujitsu. I definitely didn't have any striking. What I did have was wrestling. And I wrestled my entire life, just normal folk style wrestling, a little bit of freestyle, a little bit of Greco-Roman. And when a wrestler sees that, like, okay, a wrestler might have an ability to take somebody down, but to be able to control them or finish a fight, it's very difficult. But now you give us the ability to choke somebody out. now we become dangerous
Yeah.
because I think it's like statistically 85% of all fights go to the ground. When you get on the ground, you don't have an ability to be able to defend some of these submissions. Yeah, you're going to get choked out. And so, Hoist Gracie really, I mean, he really changed the mindset behind so many of these people, that like what I consider to be like the 80s mindset. When you look at all the old martial arts movies, it was always like karate. Karate Kid was big back then, and then now you're getting in a cage and you're putting a jiu-jitsu guy up against a karate guy, and you realize the karate guy's got nothing, and this guy's just, I mean, it's not as pretty, as like, a karate guy hitting a
it's not as marketable, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But it is definitely, we've gotten a point now where, even our own military is starting to utilize jujitsu techniques. You have, I've trained many police officers with jujitsu, in scenarios where they don't have an ability to get to their weapon, how to, be able to control a situation that seems to be out of control. And so jiu-jitsu has definitely changed the mindset behind everybody, and pretty much majority of any physical confrontation that these people could potentially be in real life. So it's definitely been a really cool thing to even be on the end of that. It's cool. So
what was your favorite fight or fighter to watch? Any fight in particular? I remember Royce Gracie against Ken Shamrock. Like that was one of the epic ones. But what was one of your epic ones that you saw now as a spectator that you're like, holy crap, this is a great fight?
I was a big fan of Chuck Liddell until he got knocked out. One of the most brutal knockouts I've ever seen, which was by Rashad Evans. And Rashad Evans is he's a decent wrestler, but he really knew how to use his striking to his advantage and was knocking people left and right. And I loved that. I thought it was just like he had a great technique at the time, for an MMA guy. Another one that I really seemed to like was, oh boy, I've been hit too many times in the head. Frank Mir. Frank Mir was another one. Frank Mir was definitely, like, I think he was the first one to beat Brock Lesnar. He was a great jiu-jitsu guy. There was a couple. He had a really cool technique that we called when we're hitting on the mitts, called the mirror. Is basically he had a great way of literally walking somebody down just left and right, just walk them down to the other side of the cage. And it was I don't know. I liked his grit and stuff like that, and his ability to obviously utilize his wrestling and jiu-jitsu. But yeah, there's so many people, when you get into fighting, especially when you get to that level, it's like everybody, it's funny to think that mixed martial arts has these little, the best way I could say it is like everybody's got their own little style. And so what's really cool is that you can see as you're making your way up, you're getting to see what's actually working in the UFC, what's working on the higher level guys, and all these techniques and everything that these guys are doing. And so now you can piece together, basically something that you want to practice on, and then build that into your own style. And so that was pretty much me. It wasn't like I had a true favorite person, but I had these things that these individuals would do that I would love to do inside the cage.
What was it that got you? Well, we already talked about that, but what was it that actually made you retire? I mean, when you retired, you were, I think, 8-3. You had a winning record. You did take part in the UFC 222. What made you decide, what, I'm going to give up on this? Was it more of a health concern, or was your heart not into it?
Yeah, I would say it was more or less a health concern. My knees, I didn't think I ever had really bad knees. It was just like, boy, they would just take punt. They would always be the first things that would go on me. And it was really, after my second ACL surgery, it was like I didn't want to go through that again, man. It was so brutal. The last ACL surgery I had was after I fought Curtis Blades, and I probably pushed in that fight a little bit further than I should have. I should have probably thrown in a towel a little earlier and maybe saved my knee a couple of years. But, it was so brutal. The older you get, you don't recover quite as fast as you used to. My first ACL injury was my left knee. That actually happened on a football field, which, as weird as that sound, got me into MMA, because that was about the time the college football guys that were sort of supporting me at the time, and they were holding off all the collection agencies of the college I was going through was a private college, so they needed money. And because I was a bigger guy for D3 football, they were doing everything they can to hold off those guys. But then once my knee went, they stopped, and I had to drop out. And that's what originally got me into fighting, because I needed something to do. I was bored. And then I realized, like, I didn't have the money to go back to school, so there went my football career. And so I just put all my eggs in the MMA basket. But, after that surgery, there were a couple fights after that, maybe into my sort of local pro time, where I would just have these, just like my knee would just give out every once in a great while, and I would have to go get like a meniscus surgery, which is fairly not as invasive, and it's like it's something you can recover quickly. But I mean, it's just I've been under for surgery wise. I've had both of my ACLs done. I've had meniscus done twice. I've had stem cell placement therapy on my left knee, which resulted in a blood clot. That was terrible. And then I had nose surgery. I had eardrum surgery. And then my last fight ended in what they considered to be a lacerated liver.
Wow.
I took a knee. And it was a brutal knee. It was perfectly set up. I was just bouncing off the cage, and that was Mike Rodriguez. He just threw a perfect knee, landed on the liver. I dropped, hurt like hell. But to the point where I was like even in the cage, that he was punching me in the face, and I was like, I'm done. This is stupid. I don't even know why I'm continuing to do this. And then they stopped the fight. I get out. All I want to do is, like, I laid my gloves down. I said, I'm done with this. And I walked out, and they put me in an ambulance. And just as like a precaution, they always, like, if you get hurt, you get knocked out, they always take you to the hospital to get you checked out just in case. And so I get a CAT scan, and I'm sitting in the emergency room, and all of a sudden, I'm getting nurses and doctors that come in and are scrubbing up. They're putting gloves on, and me and my quarterman are just sitting there, and we're like, what's going on? And the one doctor looks at me. He's like, well, he says, you have a lacerated liver. It's near your aorta, which is your main supply to your liver. We need to open you up. We need to stop the bleeding and stuff like that. And I'm at that point, I'm like, all I want to do is get out and start drinking beers with my buddy. Like, I just want to enjoy the retirement. And I couldn't even do that. And the next thing I know, like, I'm getting so lightheaded. Like, I feel like I'm going to throw up in the emergency room. And I lay back. I was about to cry, like literally cry. I was like, I stopped so I would stop having surgeries. And eventually the doctor stopped, and he looked at me. He's like, why aren't you keeled over in pain right now? I was like, I don't know. I was like, is it supposed to be painful? He's like, well, if you have internal bleeding, he says, you would feel it. I said, I feel like I got hit, like, kneed in the liver. That's basically it. Like, I've been in this scenario where I've gotten hit in the liver and dropped like a box of rocks. It happens, but I feel fine. He's like, okay, well, we're not going to open you up. He says, we're just going to monitor you for like the next 2 days. So I spent the next 2 days in a hospital bed for absolutely no reason in Milwaukee in December. And I was like, this had to have been more of a sign for me. Like, yeah, give up. And so I just knew, like, that was the moment where I really, like, that was the nail in the coffin for me. But in the end too, a lot of people don't realize this. I worked a full-time job still while fighting. I couldn't afford where I was living. I couldn't afford health benefits just literally fighting. I didn't have a good enough management agency to get me, good sponsors and things like that. And so I literally worked 10 to 12 hours out on a pipeline, and I would go train 3 to 4 hours a night, get like 4 to 5 hours of sleep, and get back up and do that literally 6 days a week. And so it was so brutal on me. And I just realized like the money isn't even there. It's like I could make the same amount, if not more, working my gas and oil job than I can literally fighting in the top tier of fighting brackets in the world. So yeah, it was a combination of the health and just simply like the money was not there. And I don't think I talked to guys who were really up there, top 10 guys. These guys, when they get out, they're not going to have any retirement. They're going to have to go right into the workforce. Now they got to go into the workforce with brain injuries, with surgeries and bad knee problems, backs, all that stuff. And it's just not worth it. Maybe if they get a union one day, it might be worth it. But for now, no. So
yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I remember Barry Sanders, Tiki Barber, football player. So obviously not the same as UFC fighters, but I remember talking about them. Barry Sanders could have held the record for the most. He could have. I think he could have broken. Was it Sweetness? I forgot the running back. I'm ashamed that I forgot, because that was my favorite team, the Chicago Bears from
is it Brown?
84. Not Walter Perry. Walter Payton?
Payton, yeah.
Payton, yeah. So, and he retired. He was like, Tiki Barber was the same thing. He's like, I'm not going to let the sport retire me.
Exactly.
And I remember ESPN pundits, can't remember the name of it, that used to be commentator on ESPN, that would say like, on the NFL side of things, once you get drafted, just to get drafted and play in the NFL, by the time you get drafted, he mentioned something that I'll never forget. He mentioned, if you are good enough to get drafted by the NFL, by that time, before your first NFL game, you have already done irreparable damage to your body. That's just on a college level.
Yeah.
So I understand. I think a lot of it's funny to watch fans of both UFC and NFL and any sport that is, this high stake, violent, or just violent in nature sports, that fans just on their sofa with potato chip crumbs all over their belly saying, oh my god, what a wuss.
Yeah, right.
Like you don't understand the sacrifices that these guys have to do on so many levels. Financially, the sacrifices, time away from their family, and on top of that, just like, this is not like, your injuries are not just going to go away.
Right.
They're just, surgery at that point is to kind of literally stop the bleeding, but the scars and the physical limitations are going to stay with you for the rest of your life.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll be surprised if I don't have 2 knee replacement surgeries in the next 10 or 15 years. I pray I don't, but who knows how it's going to go. But you got to think about that. I got two beautiful boys upstairs. They're 3.5 years old. I want to be to the point where I could be out in the yard, playing tag football or throwing a baseball around with really no limitations. My father, he did not take care of himself at all. Like, now he was beat up by drugs and alcohol, and then eventually he got cancer. And then once he beat cancer, it wrecked his body. And so by the time I was 10 or 12, like, he could barely run. And so I told myself, like, that was another thing too. Like, I wanted to get to the point where if I'm going to have kids and if I'm going to have a family, I need to get it in my mind. I got to do this now, because if not, I'm either going to be really old by the time those times come up, or B, it's going to be difficult, So, so that kind of plays into it. And like you said, man, a lot of people, they don't see the sacrifices. They don't see all the times that we fail. Like, the best thing that I could tell anybody who's trying to do anything in their life is be comfortable with failing 95% of the time, because and so many people don't realize like how hard it is to make it in basically anything. Of course you can make it in something that's easy, and I guarantee you're going to see a lot of people out there who are doing the same thing. But you really want to be great at something, prepare to literally fail almost every single day of your life, and then every once in a great while God will bless you with just this little taste of
Sliver of,
success.
yeah,
Yeah,
taste of
right. And
victory.
it just keeps you just a bit more motivated to keep pushing through the failures, man. And in especially in MMA, I know football was the same thing. I mean, that was my deal. Football, I tore my knee in practice. I got hurt. I got more concussions in sparring than I have actually fighting. So a lot of people, of course, they don't televise practices. They don't televise training segments. It's literally just whatever you see out there. And so all the times that we're getting beat up, broken bones, broken noses, concussions, all these things, you don't see that. All you see is the final product of us overcoming that and showcasing what we have to show. So yeah, I mean, it's tough. And like you said, there's going to be people on the couch eating their potato chips, drinking their beer, but like, I would have never given up. What? Yeah.
He got knocked out. What a weak ass.
Yeah, right. Like, I would have never got knocked out. All you had to do was duck. Jeez.
Shout out to JR Markaby, who's watching. Appreciate you. Says JR Markaby says, found your YouTube channel. I'm assuming about Adam. A couple of months ago, Adam, really enjoy your content. Keep it up, dude. So let's talk a little bit about your transition now into bass fishing, because I'm assuming, one of my favorite 30 for 30 episodes on ESPN was the one called Broke. Not that you ended up broke, but they talked about they talked about football players, NFL players, basketball players, baseball players that after again, the sports that you have to take painkillers, you have to go with the emotional stress, the pressure of the fans, and everything that comes with it, that I have no idea, because I've never done anything like not even remotely close to what you've done. But once retirement comes, there's this, for most of them, there's this void that is sometimes filled up by the wrong activities.
Oh yeah.
You went from, a very physical sport to a sport that is not physical. Well, kind of is, but not obviously at the same level. You're not, bass is not going to kick your butt.
Literally,
mentally, yes, but literally. But it does keep bass. One thing that I think separates bass fishing from any other type of fishing, and the reason why I think it's so popular, even though there are bigger, badder fish out there that you can fish, is because of the difficulty in catching a bass, and especially with using artificial lures and all that, and the mental struggles to trying to break down a lake. So long segue into what I'm going to ask, but how did bass fishing or kayak bass fishing fill that void for you once you retired out of UFC?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the void, man. I ended up making a couple posts that eventually, I don't know if you know who he is, but he's an NFL analyst, has a couple shows out in California, but Jay Glazer, with the actual NFL. I mean, he's an analyst with them, but he's got this thing called merging vets and players, and it's really cool. It's like, basically what it is like you've got these military veterans, combat veterans who, whenever they're done with whatever they're doing, it's like, what do I do now? Like, what's my purpose? And like, there's so many of us, even into the pro side of things, like NFL, MLB, we're talking pretty much anything where basically you have literally put everything else in your entire life on hold, and all you did was focus on that one thing. What happens when that comes to a stop? And so that whole thing, like what he's got going on, helps fill the void. It's a cool, like, weekly conversation with everybody, and basically talking about like things that they dealt with in the past. Like I've listened to some pretty horrific stories from military veterans,
Yeah.
and but then also like on the pro side, I get where, on a professional side, like you have this purpose, you fulfilled that purpose, and now you have absolutely nothing to look forward to. What do you do? And so there comes about this depression, and depression is because you were so willfully minded to be able to deal with all the rigors of whatever it is that you wanted to accomplish. You still have that. It's like you've completed that quest. And so for me it was the same thing. But they ended up reaching out and talking to me a good bit, so I learned a lot. And I found out there's so many people who go through that. And so it was at that moment that I had throughout my career in mixed martial arts. I would go fishing. I love fishing. I used to fish all the time. I grew up fishing on Chesapeake Bay in Maryland, and then eventually made my way into kayak fishing because it was a cheap way to get off the bank. Then a friend of mine like hit me up, said, "Hey, you want to try a kayak bass tournament?" And, I tried a few of them, had some success, sometimes never caught a fish, but I loved that. And it was like really cool. But at that time I was so focused on MMA, I didn't really think much about it. And I said, you know what? Why don't I go ahead, literally try to take everything that I learned from my mixed martial arts days, everything that I was going through, because I was in that moment, right in that cusp of just ending what had my main focus on, to having nothing, like where I was like starting to drink a little bit heavily, starting to do things that I don't normally do. And I was like, this isn't me. I'm literally just trying to, fill a void, like you said. And so it just hit me. I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and try this kayak fishing thing. And I see it growing. It's like one of the fastest growing sports out there. I have an ability to market through social media, so I can utilize everything that I gained from my MMA career,
Yeah.
transition that fan base over into this new thing that I'm getting into. I fill the void of my competitiveness, because I love competition, because it's sort of something like you take your whole life, and then it's like you can kind of just like set that off the side and just really focus on this one little situation, this one tournament. And you get to break it down. It's a puzzle. Like men, our minds are wired very differently. Like we have to have something that we do and fix and stuff, because if not, we're gonna go crazy. And so I like that. And I had a few buddies who were doing it, so I got a chance to be a part of a group of individuals that I really cared and respected. Then I got an opportunity to fill that competitiveness, and then again, utilize my marketing skills and all my social medias to possibly see how far this goes. And you know what, man? It was just one of those things that as soon as it happened, I loved it, and I was like, you know what? Let's see how far we can go with it.
That's awesome. Does the solitude or peacefulness of being on a kayak, no nice picture perfect weather day kind of help you? And does that bore you at any point, coming from a high octane sport to now? Do you appreciate it more than the average kayak angler, or how does that work for you?
It's a good observation. And yeah, I absolutely love it, because now that I'm a father, a husband, homeowner, I've got a great job, and a great job comes with a lot of, the territory of managing projects and managing other people. There's a lot that is going on all at once. And you ever watch those videos where people are getting ready to like go do something that they love, and it's all you're doing is hearing all the commotion and all the noise, and all of a sudden once they get ready to do it, it just stops. That's exactly what kayak fishing does, man. It's like so much. I need to do this, need to do this, need to do this, need to focus on that. I got the kids here, I got my wife here, I gotta do that. And it's like I've mentioned this to so many guys, and they're starting to to get it to click in their minds every time that it does it. But you ever push off a bank when you're like underweight on a kayak and you push off the bank and all of a sudden you get to that moment where you're immediately weightless on the water.
Yeah.
That is such an amazing feeling. And
Underrated. Yes.
yes, and it's like that moment, and I try to tell people too, we're really focused on trying to really do well in kayak fishing, like tournament wise. I was like, these are the moments that are going to help your fishing more than anything else. These are the moments that are going to calm you down. They're going to, lower your anxiety. They're going to just make you just, appreciate your opportunity to be able to be out there and do this, because it's such an incredible sport. It's a fast growing sport. It's a fairly inexpensive sport if you match it up to like boat bass fishing and other stuff. And so, yeah, man, I love it. I love the peace. Like, I'm a Christian man. And so that's my peace. That's my time with God. I get an opportunity to, kind of just have conversations with him in my head while I'm out there trying to piece together a puzzle that is this lake. And of course, if it's in Western PA, it is going to be a very difficult lake to fish. So, I mean, it's such an amazing time for me. It's why I do it so much.
Well, is there anything about, obviously I'm assuming maybe mentally or emotionally, that you translate from what you learned of UFC to bass fishing? And I mean, obviously opposite. I'm sorry, forgot English for a second. Sports, but when you think about the mental struggles, maybe of fighting and getting prepared for a fight and being patient, with your blows and managing the other side, does anything like that translate, you think, has helped you catch more bass?
Yeah, I will say, you were talking about patience. Obviously, everybody knows patience is the key thing in fishing. Being patient, waiting for that one key bite, the two key bites, whatever. When I was going through MMA and I was trying to make it to the UFC, there were so many opportunities that it felt like I was right there to make it. Like I would look at these guys in the UFC and say, I can beat them right now. I was like, when am I going to get my shot? And I mean, it was constant tweeting the matchmakers, the UFC, tweeting Dana White. I mean, just reaching out social media, emails, like reaching out to people who had ties in, like, hey, can you throw a good word in for me? It was just constantly. And there was a moment in my MMA career that I decided, I was like, I was full-time coach at one of the biggest gyms here in Pittsburgh. And then at the same time, I was training every single day. And I just got so burnt out. I got so tired of waiting for this opportunity, and it never came. And I just said, you know what? I need to do something else. And I went and I started working at the brand new, the Field and Stream store that opened up here. I helped open up the first two stores for Field and Stream, and because it was the other passion that I had was fishing and hunting and camping. And I did that for a little bit, but then eventually I just knew that there was nothing there for me. And so I was like, you know what? I think me dealing with the American public, it pushed me to the point where like, I need to fight somebody. So I eventually got back in the cage and kept going. And then my shot came, and it was like, it was at that moment I realized, like, I mean, you could do all the things in the world to help speed up the process, help speed up the opportunity, but the opportunity is only going to come when the opportunity wants to come. I mean, it's not like you can't speed it up. So, and when I'm trying to translate that into fishing, I've had a lot of success this year, literally locking a bait in my hand and just hitting a bank and just having this anticipation that I'm going to get a big strike. Even though I might go 2, 3, 4 hours without a bite, I keep it locked in my hand. I keep going because I know eventually I am going to get bit. I mean, most of the baits we use today is like fairly simple. Like, does it look like a bass would eat it? Yeah. Is a bass going to eat it? Yeah. You just got to find a bass that's willing to eat at that particular moment. And so again, cover water, lock it in your hand. Don't start junk fishing, switching around, not being patient, your 5 fish are going to come. And so, yeah, the whole patience thing came into it, really helped me out with it. When I get into these bigger end tournaments, I talk to a lot of guys who they're sponsored. They might have a lot of like, stuff riding on this particular tournament. And, I could tell like their anxiety's through the roof. I know guys who don't sleep the night before a tournament, and I don't talk to them about this, but I'm like, you think that's like a lot of anxiety? Try sitting in the back,
Yeah.
with a camera in your face, getting ready to walk out, to 100,000 people in a crowd, and you're about to fight somebody in the cage that you have absolutely nothing against.
Yeah.
And so, that's anxiety. And so, yeah, when it gets to the moments where maybe I'm on a national event, national series, I don't get worked up for it. It's still just fishing. In the end, it's like, yeah, you can win more. You could be a part of more stuff if you do win, but anxiety wise isn't there for me. It's just something that I just love to do. And as long as I keep the idea that, hey, the reason why I got in this is because I love it. And I have a lot of passion for it. And I love the feeling of just being out here and being at peace, things happen for you. So yeah, between patience and learning how to deal with the anxiety, 100%, MMA has definitely helped in the fishing game.
What about the fishing community? Because I feel like social media, you know how the algorithm works.
Mm-hmm.
You've been in big time in UFC. You know, controversy, bad blood. That's what the algorithm looks for. It looks for the debate, for the arguments. And I see like in social media, it seems especially on tournaments that there's more. It's more toxic than what it really is when you really go out there and fish in tournaments and all that. You for the most part, not saying there's no toxic behavior or it's not all kumbaya, but for the most part, it is a very pleasant community. When you're talking about UFC, obviously there's rivalries, like you mentioned. Sometimes, in order to hype yourself up for a fight, you're gonna have to look for something that gives you like an emotional type of like negative or hatred towards this person that you don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to be on your A game. So you have to kind of feed into, even make something up in your mind to kind of like, all right, I need to find something to give me a little extra juice. How does the UFC community, or the mixed martial arts community, I should say, compare to the kayak fishing community or kayak bass fishing community?
Yeah, well, I will say, between the UFC, like the UFC, so we always had this thing, like if you wanted to market yourself and you want the promoters to really like you as a fighter, you have two options to pick. You can either be the good guy or you could be the bad guy. And
Mm.
so most guys would go with the good guy. I was a good guy. I didn't have anything against anybody. I tried not to start fights, tried not to be a part of that drama series. But it is 10 times harder to make it as a good guy
Yeah.
as it is to make it as a bad guy. Because here's the thing. So you can make it as a good guy where you got people who want to watch you win, or you can make it as a bad guy where you have people who want to watch you lose. And from my experience, it seems like if somebody's in there who's number one winning, but is also a bad guy, that is absolutely amazing for a promoter, because that draws people in. Number one, you're going to have all those people who sort of like that bad guy mentality and will
Yeah.
support that person, aka like Conor McGregor, like
Conor
had
McGregor, yeah.
that, like he was a great talker. He was a great, like you could get behind him because he was funny at some points, it was great. But then also you had the other side of that, of people who just like absolutely despise it, think that, he was horrible for the sport, disrespected opponents. This wasn't how it's supposed to be, like more or less like the traditional martial artists are supposed to be. And they wanted to watch like this up and comer or somebody that's getting ready to fight Connor, who might not have it
Yeah.
on the cards, but still has a shot to knock him out. And, they're going to buy the ticket because of that. And so when you get into the kayak community, you don't necessarily have the bad guy, good guy mentality here. I mean, there are a few, very select few, especially in kayak fishing. What I liked about kayak fishing, it was pretty much the exact opposite of that whole MMA side of things. Um, the first thing I had told, like when I was trying to express like why I love the kayak fishing community, was the camaraderie that we build on the local end of these tournaments are second to none. I mean, these are guys that I probably, out and about in public would have never had a conversation with, would have never had a relationship with. Now we're drawn together because we have two passions. And most of the time, everybody realizes it's fishing. Everybody realizes that you're probably out there trying to win gas money or beer money. Like it's nothing's
Yeah.
going to change your life, and so it's like good friendly competition. And then you build these relationships within the community. Of course, as you grow and as you get bigger, on the national side of stuff, you are going to have some individuals or some parts of these
Yeah.
people that are going to be what you would call trolls, or people who are going to talk crap and stuff like that, only because it's like either A, they like to get a rise out of people, or B, because they want to draw attention to themselves. Regardless, it's like, publicity, it's publicity. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. I get it. But majority of the time, kayak fishing is peaceful, even within the competition side of things,
Yeah.
even within the community, if people want to know. I enjoy it because the majority, probably 95% of the people that I meet we're all like all trying to figure this thing out. We don't know
Yeah.
what's going on. So, we all try to help each other out. Every little, like I might have something that you might not have known, and then you have something that I didn't know about kayak fishing. And then we just all sort of build up with each other. And so, if you ever been to ICAST, man,
Yeah.
you'll understand how tight niched not only the kayak fishing community, but even just the bass fishing community is, or just the fishing community to begin with. I mean, it's like there were people out there, like I watched on YouTube, I watch on Instagram and stuff, and all of a sudden it's just, if we're all in one place, we're like, oh, you're here, oh man, yeah, I remember you, friend request, yeah, and it's like, wow, it is such a very tight niche community. So I don't think, when it comes to people who want to be trolls, I think it's a lot harder in this because they can't really hide anymore, because we are all tight niche. It's like everybody knows everybody. So, so you don't get a lot of the bad apples like you do in the MMA side of things. So long story, but yeah, that's my perspective on the two different audiences.
Speaking of ICAST, a little segue. Shout out to my long lost cousin, Lost River Expedition, who's on Instagram. It's funny you mention ICAST. I think like the second or third time I went to ICAST. I didn't go this year, but it was 2 years ago. My last name, Sola, it's not like it's not that popular, especially in the United States. And I see this guy. This guy sees me with my name tag, says Sola, and he's like, "That's my last name." Turns out we're cousins. um
That's
from
crazy.
like long lost cousins that we didn't know each other exist. We built
Wow.
the relationship since then. So it's, yeah, ICAST, it's, like you said, so it's a tight knit community.
Yep.
There's obviously some um uh things that happen in the kayak fishing community. You've gone into social media, and shout out to how you've handled it, because I think one thing that you have in your favor that most of us as content creators don't have is, you first of all, you can say whatever you want, and there's not a single kayak angler out there that's going to tell you meet me outside, because none of us BFC, but yet you find a way to be very diplomatic when you're covering let's just say controversial subjects like what recently happened to Susquehanna. Shout out, you did a great job of talking about
Thank
that
you.
without, pointing out some things, but without insulting, which
Yeah.
again you could have easily done, and kind of justifiably,
Mhm.
if the allegations of the cheating were true. But you did pretty good on that, man.
Yeah,
So
I appreciate that.
I admire you for that. You were able to be informant about the situation without um, insulting people, or literally throwing them under the bus.
Yeah,
So
and a lot of people don't realize, like, I mean, I was a competitor in there as
yeah,
well. So, I mean, I had just as right to be angry about the
yeah,
situation, but just like I said before, like my anxiety is not there. This wasn't even something I was planning on doing. Like I
yeah,
wasn't even planning on doing it. I was gonna stay home and hang out with the kids. And then my one buddy, he kind of like pressured me and he's like, come out here, do it. I was like, all right, fine. Cause I haven't fished the Susquehanna much this year. So yeah, that whole situation, I mean, I didn't the first things first is like when you get all this information all at once, like if
yeah,
anybody understands anything about any sort of drama, most of the time you're only going to hear like 90% of just one side of it,
yeah,
and as opposed to hearing it literally from, so to speak, the horse's mouth. And I've been in a scenario where I have been a part of that gossip only to have myself like, eating my own words and literally having to apologize and stuff like
yeah,
that. I know what that feels like. Now I didn't do it publicly, but it's like a part of that stuff. And I'm the type of guy, like, I like being the middle guy. Like I don't necessarily, as weird as it sounds, I don't like confrontation that much. Uh, you know, like you said, though, I sort of keep that in the back of my head. Like I used to fight in the UFC. I don't think anybody would have a problem, but if they did, I kind of be excited. Like I haven't fought in a while, so like yeah,
itching.
yeah. I've always wanted to like just have a shirt that said "shut up" or "glove up," or something like that. And it's just like I don't know. My if if there's anything that I want to be within the community of kayak fishing is to be either A, in a scenario like that, to be a peacemaker, or
Yeah,
B, just being as informative as I can to allow both sides, both parties to make their assessments on what they believe.
yeah,
I have mine and that might die with me in my grave, but it's just for me, like I just thought it was something that a lot of people needed, and I was there firsthand to be a part of it, and so I just kind of took with it. And it's funny that the guy in question actually hit me up on my Instagram and said, he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "First of all, I watched your video, and he said I really appreciate you not like running my name through the mud and joining the crowd on all
yeah,
these." Shit talkers. And so I was I was I had more respect for that guy because of that, because of
yeah,
him saying that. Because not only did he say that, he also said that whenever these legal allegations sort of cease or get finalized or whatever, he wants to come on and tell his side of the story, which I definitely offered, because it's I'm not going to sit here and bash somebody if I don't know their side of the story. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to do that. But as a content creator, it's funny, like in social or in kayak fishing compared to MMA, it's total opposites. But when you start adding in this social media concept, it might not translate so much out in the field of fishing or in the competitiveness of kayak fishing. But it's just like MMA. You have good guys and you have bad guys. And in social media, you're going to have good guys and you have bad guys. And guess what? It doesn't matter if this guy's a bad guy and he's a crap talker and all he wants to do is just call people out and do this. Guess what? People are going to either A, jump on board, or people are going to
yeah,
comment. People are going to boost his algorithm or
yeah,
boost the algorithm of people because they're commenting below on his stuff. And so, good publicity, bad publicity, it's all publicity. It's all good. It's all going to get them recognized. It's all going to just help their career within the social media platform. So yeah, you're going to have that. And it's what we like to call keyboard warriors. It's many of
yeah.
us who wish that we could find these guys at the grocery store one day. But so yeah.
It's hilarious. I hate to say it, but I've mentioned it so many times on the podcast. And for those that listen to my podcast repeatedly, they're probably here goes Armando telling the same story. Uh, but for you, they probably, if you haven't listened, I haven't told you this, or whoever's listening for the first time, watching for the first time. Um, Facebook. I remember posting a video of me running into a shallow bar, and it was a funny video, and somebody just started hating, put a hateful comment, and somebody who I don't know, doesn't follow my account, a troller, a keyboard warrior, which I was like, whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
Don't care. I didn't even reply. And all of a sudden, somebody who I don't know came out in misdefense. And then it turned out to be a grammar fight because somebody misspelled something. There was 200 replies, which I took no part on at all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe in inciting. Like, there's people out there that understand algorithm, and they say, if I do something infuriating, people are going to comment, and
Yep.
my account is going to grow. I can't look at myself and think that that's all right, especially if I'm on the kayak fishing community. Like, I'm not going to be toxic just for the sake of it. But then a couple of months later, my wife's just like, what's the $345 check on our account that says Facebook? I'm like, I don't have no idea what you're talking about. So I look at my Facebook account, and because of that reel, which I didn't even notice, went viral. Got, I don't know how many. It wouldn't. I don't know if it was millions or something. I think it just under 1 million. And because of that fight, that sent the video viral, and I got a check for it. So whoever was the troller, thank you. I wish more trollers would comment hateful things. I'm looking at, like, I don't want to do something to infuriate people on purpose.
Yeah.
But any trollers out there, please do it. I have no idea how much help that is.
The bigger you get, the more you're going to have, because you're going to have people who are going to be on your side because of the success you have, but then you're also going to have people who are going to be against you because of the success you have. So
nobody hates the Cleveland Browns, but everybody hated the Patriots in the 2000s.
Yes, exactly. Great point. Yep, good point.
So, maybe people in Cleveland hated the Browns. That's another subject. What got you into doing social media? Like, knowing how toxic it can be sometimes.
I knew that was going to be the biggest business thing out there. I think I read statistically 76% of all products or 76% of individuals who buy products research those products on social media first, whether it be a product, whether it be, a story, whether it be just simply a character on social media. People are going on social media to find out these things. And I find myself scrolling through TikTok to figure out the world news, because it's like these small little clips of just literally giving me basically my ADHD kicking in. Like, I could just get everything I want real quick. I get that. But I realized, like, social media was probably 100% of the reason why I got in the UFC to begin with. I mean, it gives you the opportunity to get noticed a lot more quickly with not as much legwork. Musicians will say, like, many of the musicians back in the day in the early 90s, 80s would have probably made it had they had social media. But, those guys have to go down to Nashville. If they go out to California, they've got to literally sacrifice so much and go out there and try these things, where now it's like, all we got to do is literally just post the video, see if it goes viral. If it goes viral, we might have a shot. And the same thing with fishing. Like, I knew that, now granted, even though kayak fishing is fairly inexpensive compared to the other fishing sports, but bass boats to be exact, it's still pretty expensive. I mean, when you're talking about, driving 17 hours to Lake Fork in Texas, that I'm living in Pennsylvania, that's at least $1,000 just in gas to get there. Let alone your Airbnb, let alone the tournament fees, let alone, like, baits and food that you buy and stuff like that. So all that really starts calculating. And so I knew that social media was going to be an opportunity to possibly possibly help out. I mean, it really isn't there for me yet, but it's at least on the product end. I've really sort of slowed down my finances, my financial costs that are going into the sport by utilizing
Yeah.
social media. But then still, it's also just an amazing way to connect. Like, we would have never known each other had we not had social media. We would have had to either meet or have a conversation on the bank of a lake somewhere. But it's like things like this. It's like I knew that relationships were going to build. You're gonna be able to possibly make some money. You can help other companies out. You can market, so you can add stuff to your resume in the process. So there's so much that social media has literally like revolutionized.
Yeah.
Not only the sport of fishing, but literally everything in every single day of our lives. I mean, this is. I don't even know how cable television is still alive these days
I
because
know.
there's so much going on.
I think they're gonna be like telephones. I remember telephones going like, yeah, cell phones started coming out. It's like, yeah, lines at your house is gonna be completely like who has a telephone in their house right now?
Oh,
I don't
nobody,
I don't think any of my friends do.
Well, I like the fact, like, that all these televisions, all these shows nowadays are on these particular apps, Paramount app or on Hulu, on Netflix and stuff like all these streaming apps that you have on your TV, which is just basically a giant phone now. One of these days, somebody's going to just say, you know what, I'm going to build something that's going to bring Hulu, Netflix, all that all into one, and they're going to reinvent cable. So
I think it's called Disney Plus now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good point.
But it's true. Like, it's like I said this about 10 years ago that I thought that cable TV was going to be gone like 5 years. It still is. I'm surprised it still is. I give it another 5 years. Like, I don't get it.
Oh, yeah.
I remember it used to be 10 years ago. If you wanted Wi-Fi on your house, they will give you like the Wi-Fi for like $30 a month the first year. And then the next year when you renew, or 6 months later, they will say like, all right, we're going to package it with cable TV. Yeah. And I was like, no, I don't want to package cable TV. It was like, well, you can't have Wi-Fi then. And I was like, all right, I'll find another company. And then it was such a weird scenario because every 6 months I would have this conversation with Spectrum, I think it was. It was like, all right, well, your introductory rate of like $30 a month for cable TV for Wi-Fi is done. Now, if you want to continue to have Wi-Fi, you have to consolidate with cable TV and pay like 100 and something. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm going to AT&T. Like, you call them on their bluff, and they would be like, all right, okay, well, you'll get to keep it for another 6 months. And now it's to a point where they don't even sell cable TV anymore. Yeah. But it was just a weird era. There was like, why are you pushing cable TV on me? And it was because everybody was leaving, and they had all these contracts that they didn't expect. Like, now I think once those contracts are done, they're like, yeah, we don't need to sign a multi-million-dollar 10-year contract because we don't know when cable TV is going to be done. Like, advertising has changed completely.
I 100% agree, and that's all thanks to just in general social media.
I think it's kind of weird, and we're getting off subject here, but I was thinking about this the other day. I highly respect content creators, social media influencers, especially in the kayak bass fishing or bass fishing in general. What I think is happening now, for better or worse, now you're getting to see accounts there that are like, it's not going to be a review. It's going to be like social media for hire. You're going to have somebody say, I'm going to pay you a couple of $1,000 if you talk about my kayak or my rod or and so it's like, all right, you're going to get people that are going to say, all right, this is a great rod, this is a great reel, this is a great kayak, oh, this is the best bait ever. But they don't tell you, obviously getting paid, they're going to tell you what's great about it.
Yeah.
And they're not going to tell you what are the limitations for it. Like, this is a great kayak. Oh, this is the best kayak ever. Is it great for river fishing? Is it great for open water? What is the whole material made of? What's the warranty on it? And I guess for the consumer side of things, the danger of it is you're not getting the full information because maybe that social media content creator that you trust now is just getting paid to hype up a product that he or she may not even use or wouldn't buy him itself. And I'm not criticizing. I don't want
Yep.
anybody to think, oh, he's talking about him or her. No, this is just in general. You can apply it to um, any manufacturing, sports,
Yep.
whatever. It's even travel and restaurants. All the same thing.
Mhm.
Oh, I went to this restaurant. Oh, I went to this place. But they're gonna only highlight what's good about it because that's what they're paid to do. That's how they
Right.
make the
Yeah.
money.
Well, it's
And
funny you
that
admit.
what that product may not fit what you wanted or how you fish,
Right.
or may
Yep.
not talk about how durable it really is,
Oh yeah.
or
No,
any shortcomings that may have.
it's a funny story. In my MMA days, my manager at the time, every once in a while he would get a product. He says, "Hey, they're going to give you, $200-$300. Just make a post with you on this product on your Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff." I was like, "Okay, that's fine." And show up. I get $200-$300. Well, the one day he sent me a back shaver. And he's like, "Hey, can you post this? They'll give you $500." It was
Oh
a lot of money,
man,
and
the
I was
trolls
like,
in it.
I looked at, it, I was like, I am not. I don't care how much money. I don't have a hairy back. Number one. Number two, I don't need people to think I have a hairy back. How am I going to post it? Like, what am I going to do? A video of me just like, hey, so if you guys got a hairy back, this is what I use. No.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, there for me, like if companies, and I've done this before, say companies who have come to me and they have a product and they want me to showcase the product, I look at it and I literally tell them like, hey, I think this isn't a good look for my channel. And then at the same time, I don't want to, I don't want people to think that I'm pushing a product out that I want people to possibly buy when I know that is a chintzy, made in Taiwan type of plastic something that's not even going to help them out. Like it's going to
Yeah.
break like within 3 tries. Like, so, when I see something like that and they really want me to market for it, I tell them like, hey, I got to decline. Like, I've looked at it, I've went through it, and this isn't going to last long. I can't wholeheartedly be able to, express to people who watch me that I use this and you are going to benefit from using this, because once they get it, I feel like absolute dog crap. There's been one time where that's happened. An individual got something. It was just like some money that that got thrown my way, and he commented back. He's like, "Dude, why is this screwed up like within like the second try?" And I literally had just ignored the comment, because I didn't have the ability to say like, "Hey, they were just throwing me some money," and I said, "No more. I'm done with that." So, yeah, it's you got to be truthful about it. I like to try to be as unbiased with my products. Like if I truly believe in it, I'm going to give you the reasons why I believe in it. And then I might find a way, like we were talking about before, like me sort of finding a way to mediate between not necessarily saying something bad about a person or something. I might find a better way of like, hey, this reel's great. But one thing I would suggest is maybe put some backing on it or whatever, something out of this order, that'll make it a little bit better for this scenario.
Yeah.
And so, because I want people to utilize everything that I'm throwing out there as a way to benefit them and their fishing experience.
Yeah.
And if I know that that's not going to be a great product for them, I'm not showcasing it unless I truly believe in it.
And it's a slippery slope and a fine line at the same time, because I
Oh
think
yeah.
I don't want to sound like I'm taking the high moral ground and telling people how to manage, their account, or
Mhm.
everybody has the right to make a living, and for some content creators, being able to sell a product is their livelihood. And I'm
Mhm. Yeah.
happy, I'm excited every time I see a content creator on our space of kayak bad fishing quit their job because they're doing social media and it's paying out for them. That's awesome. I think
Yep.
that's at its place. What I think as consumers you have to understand, when you are a content creator and you're selling a product, like even though you wouldn't use it yourself or you don't really think it's a great product, but you're getting paid, and your followers, one or two or however many of your followers, buy it based on what you said, and then turns out there are some shortcomings that you weren't upfront with. It's a betrayal in the trust of the people that supported you, that
Yeah.
got you to where you are.
Yep.
Again, I don't want to sound like I'm taking the high moral ground. I understand people have, you know, a right to make a living. And if
Yeah.
this is how they make a living, I'm in no position to criticize. And I hope that whatever you're selling or promoting or trying to influence other people to buy, it's worth buying.
Yeah.
But that's something that each and every content creator has to understand is like, what am I, what's the end goal here? Being am I doing right by the people that are loyally following me and got me to the point where now I can make money out of it?
Yep.
I find it hilarious about, I'm not pointing a product directly because there's a few of them, but like a new kayak that just debuted. Oh, it could be a new reel, a new rod. You haven't even demoed that kayak because it wasn't even available to be demoed at ICAST.
Yeah.
And you're making videos promoting it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is awesome. This is going to be great. You haven't even tried it. Like,
Yeah.
I find it hilarious. How do you know it's great if you haven't even gotten on it?
Yep.
Like, tell me at least you got on a demo on it. Now,
Yeah.
that being said, having a manufacturing or an owner of a company come to your podcast, to my podcast, I would love to have people that have a product they want to debut. It's like, hey, I've actually reached out to some of them. They're like, hey, whenever you're ready, come up to a podcast. I'm not going to speak about your product because I haven't tried it, but I would have you on the podcast and you talk about it, and I'll ask you honest answers about your product, and it's your job to say what you feel about your product. But to kind of hype up a product that you never even tried, it's just hilarious to me. And
oh yeah,
you just hope that whatever you're hyping, it does come out the end product as good as you.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, it's not good. Look, but that's a slippery slope, man. I know it's crazy.
Yep. You gotta have those people trust you.
No hate on those content creators. I'm always happy to see them thrive, and it's a great when the kayak fishing community has grown to the point where a few people can actually make a living creating content. So that's what we want. We want this to grow. And you, as a content creator as well, what are your goals for? What is it? Straight yakking, right?
Straight yacked. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Straight yacked. STR8. And really, the goal is whatever comes of it, man. I've worked really hard where I've focused on it and I've put videos out and I've done so much for it where I found very little progress. Whereas opposed to where I'm like, you know what? If it's going to work out, it's going to work out. If not, no big deal. The biggest thing that I want, and, just like we sort of touched on it, was to be sort of the mediator.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I don't know why. Blurry. Keep going. I don't know why, but keep going. Go ahead.
All right. But yeah, it's just to be like the light in the dark, so to speak. Like I want to be somebody that people can look for on informative content, things that's going to help them. I've been I was coaching kids in MMA and stuff like that, and I really have a soft spot for coaching, and I like seeing people do things that I tell them to do and they have success with it. And so when that happens, like it makes me feel better that money really could not, replace. And so money, I want that to literally just be a symptom of the things that I do. Maybe the successes of growing as a content creator, as somebody who's on YouTube. And a lot of people don't realize this. Like, I'm taking time away from my kids. Like, there are times where I feel like a video is going to do well, and I got to get down here and I got to edit and I got to do a lot of stuff with editing, and I got to get it out there because it's fresh in people's minds. Maybe it's a tournament that just happened recently. And so I got to take time away from my family to come down here, and I'm editing for 5-6 hours straight. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. A lot of people don't realize that. And I do that because somewhere along the line, I think somebody's going to find something helpful within my video that's going to help them become more successful. And if that does that, then I think that's probably the end goal for me. I want people to just look at me as a somebody who wants them to be as successful, if not more successful. So, and then hopefully maybe the money might come by, if hopefully there might be something that might help out with the cost of travel and the cost of these, tournament fees and things like that. So, if that is a symptom of the success behind being able to help people, that's my priority, is just helping people. So
That's awesome, and I think that's the best approach to it. I apologize. I just realized my phone, which I was using as a camera, battery's gone. So
oh
yeah, I apologize about that. So with that, we pretty much gotten to the end of the episode. So I
yeah.
apologize about the camera issue, but it is what it is. Technology fails us sometime, and onward. What is it? What's the expression? Onward, forward, and onward, something like that. Anyways, I got distracted here. I got with the camera not working. But man, Adam, I really appreciate you coming up to the podcast.
Yeah, man.
It's a great conversation. A lot more. I expect it to be enjoyable. Oh, looks like it's working now. But really enjoyed it very, very much. Let me see if I can get this to work again. Maybe no. I guess not. Um, what if you have sponsorships or anybody that has helped you with your kayak bass fishing social media and tournament, um, you want to plug them in? Talk about
Yeah.
who's helping you support.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I'm a pro team member with Native Watercraft. I fish out of Native Titan X, which I just absolutely love. Got to give a shout out to Fishing Online. Fishing Online is a local fishing store here in Western Pennsylvania, but they are nationwide. You can get all your stuff right from there. Great prices. And then Ego Fishing, got the best nets on the market. Cross Kick shoes. If you guys haven't gotten in Cross Kick shoes, you got to get its most comfortable shoe that you're ever going to kayak in. And I do a lot of wade fishing here in Pennsylvania, so they come in handy quite a bit. I just got on board with Svivlo Reels, so you guys will see me posting a little bit more about that. It's a Swedish-made reels. I met them down at ICAST this year, and just decided to partner up with them. It's almost virtually a no backlash bait caster. So if you're the type of person who likes to skip cast, but you're like me, about every third skip cast you bird's nested, they have a patented braking system that is absolutely incredible. So you guys got to check out Svivlo. It's Svilo, made in Sweden. And then I got Grove Life Outfitters, great clothing company, and 412 Bait Company, River's Edge Canoe and Kayak, and Hobie Eyewear Sunglasses, the best sunglasses on the market. If you guys are looking for the best sunglasses to be able to peer through the glare on the water, they've got all the styles that you ever want, floating frames. You'll never lose your sunglasses. So and then obviously, like, Straight Yaks is not a sponsor. So it's a show that I'm trying to build up. I appreciate you letting me kind of say a few words about it, but it's just a YouTube channel. I've got Instagram as well, Facebook, that I like to showcase a lot of fishing tips, tackle reviews, and then of course talking about things that might happen on the Susquehanna, and stuff like that. So if people are more than welcome to come by, drop by, say hi. I try to reply to everybody on all the comments, so feel free to talk to me if you guys got any questions, you want to know something about something and want my 2 cents, I can give that. So but yeah, man, I think that's about it. And Armando, I thank you for letting me come on, man.
Oh, my
Good to
pleasure,
see.
dude. When's your
Yeah,
next tournament?
It's got a little local tournament this Saturday. It's going to be up on Shawnee Lake. Western PA guys might know that. But the next big one is going to be, so we have a fairly decent one, top prize 10 grand at the Susquehanna in a couple weeks, and then right after that, I'll be heading out for the last one in your neck of the woods at Toledo Bend for
Oh, awesome.
Bassmaster. So yeah, so I'll be out there. I think that's near the end of September
Yeah.
22nd, 23rd. So yeah, that's basically it. And that'll be probably the end of tournament season. I got one more championship for our PA Bass Nation here in Pennsylvania in October. And then then it's on to hunting and wait until the next season comes around.
Well, awesome, man. Good luck in the rest of the way this season and
Yeah.
beyond. And
Thank
also
you.
with your social media, man. It's a pleasure and honor to have you on the podcast, man. Thank you for bringing your content to our podcast and having these great conversations. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed it as much as I did, and hopefully you did as well. So before my phone gets out of battery again, I'll say thank you to everyone that watched. If you listening on the MP3 formats, thank you again. Appreciate it. And you can follow us once again, Bass Kayak and Beers, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. And have a great night, everyone. If you're going to be on the water, remember, don't forget your PFDs. Peace out, everyone.